It's National Mental Health Awareness Week, and I want to hold space for you, your trauma, loss, and grief. Let's talk about it. Hello, my loves. Dr. Holly here. It's National Mental Health Illness Awareness Week. There's a lot coming out from NAMI and the folks who really support decreasing the stigma around mental health and mental well-being and what we can do to improve that for ourselves and for those that we love. You know, right now it seems like it's pretty timely to have this happening. Here in New Orleans, we're still dealing with the devastation from Hurricane Ida. I just had an interaction with someone from up in the Northeast who was like, "You guys are still dealing with that?" I'm like, dude, the trash is real and it's still outside my door. We're also dealing with this pandemic. There was a study that was just released. One of the pediatric journals talked about looking at children and those that have been affected by this pandemic, by COVID. They looked at the numbers of children who have lost a primary caregiver, whether it be a parent or a grandparent who is doing all of their things day to day, who have lost one of those individuals to COVID. And it turns out 1 in 4 COVID cases results in a loss of a primary caregiver for children. In June 2021, it was about 140,000 of folks who were lost were primary caregivers to children. How devastating. I mean, I can only imagine as a young person losing a parent. For me, this is timely because I'm also personally dealing with an asthma flare-up. Now you're wondering, like, what's one got to do with the other? Well, for me, I actually have adult onset asthma. My asthma came after post-Katrina. I was working in a moldy building for the city. Those who live in New Orleans aren't going to be surprised by this. That was not remediated properly. And because of that chronic exposure to mold, I developed asthma. Now, on the physical side of things, that makes sense. The inflammatory process, my lungs being exposed to those toxins. That's why we do all these screens in the integrative medicine world. But you know what? Actually, on the psychological side, it makes sense. And I only learned that in the past couple of years through my integrative medicine fellowship with Andy Weil and his team. If you look at things from a traditional Chinese medicine space, also from the chakra energy healing space, grief can cause a stagnation of energy within the lungs, and that actually can lead to things like asthma. So I had developed it just within that year after Katrina, and for me personally, it was also the year after my father died from ALS. Because his lungs gave out. So not surprising that I then went on to develop some lung issues due to that tremendous grief that I had and the grief that was hijacked by this huge loss within my city. I really didn't have a safe space to turn to process my own individual grief because of the grief that was happening around me within my community. So this might resonate with you, because you're dealing with your own grief, whether it be the loss of a parent, the loss of a job, the loss of your home because of Ida. And then here we are surrounded by this pandemic, by the immediate needs within our community. And you may feel like your losses are somewhat hijacked by what's happening to those around you. And you might feel kind of alone in that. And I want to make sure you know that you're not alone, that I know what that feels like. Those around you who maybe are experiencing grief as well also know what it feels like to have some loss. So just know that you can reach out. Just because you have had that loss doesn't mean it needs to continue into a space of developing asthma or developing an anxiety or a PTSD or things that unfortunately losses and grief can predispose us to. Having the support that is available to you and reaching out and engaging in that support can decrease your chances of kind of going on to develop things like I did, because I didn't feel very supported at that time by the place where I had been working. Of course, my family was very supportive, but things happen. So This is why I have developed, or in the process of developing, a group that's going to be available to you. It's going to be free to my current patients through the new year. And for those who are watching who maybe haven't engaged with me on one-on-one, I'm going to offer it at a low price of $20.22 so that we can manifest fabulousness together for the new year. So this will be starting in November. Please keep an eye out for it. I'm working out all the details, but it'll be a weekly group session that we do together. First half will be me talking about various topics, whether it be energy healing, grief, sleep, stress, whatever the community is asking for and whatever feels timely in that moment. And then the second half, that first half will be taped so that folks who decide to engage with us, who maybe can't make it at the time we schedule or miss at that particular time because life happens, can go back and look at it, or if you want to review it later. And then the second half won't be taped so we can have some privacy and folks can get on together, talk about health goals, talk about whatever is going on in their lives, just support each other. And I'll be there for that as well. So keep an eye out. I love doing this kind of work because folks really become coaches for each other and a community is formed, and community is so protective when it comes to things like PTSD, asthma, diabetes, blood pressure issues. So many health problems can be decreased when we have that community support and we're engaging in that type of healthcare. Study after study supports this. I promise I'm not just making it up. And I love magic. So the magic of that community is going to keep you going and keep you moving forward. So for more information on this, please look at my website, darawellnessnola.com. There you can sign up to be on my email list so you can get a personal invitation to engaging in this work, or reach out to me for that one-on-one, because as I said, that group stuff will be free if you're doing the one-on-one with me for this year. And then we can talk about your individual health goals and move you in a place that's towards wellness and well-being and happiness. You can follow me on social media, click the like, click the follow so that you're alerted when these lives come on. And just know that I adore you. I love you. I'm sending you so much understanding and love and support. And take care and enjoy the rest of your week and weekend.